Well, you're welcome to another episode of Just Getting Started. I'm Nicky Hughes, and today I'm talking with the great Lianne Balazsi. Hi, Lianne, how are you?
I'm good, Nicky. How are you?
I'm awesome. You're calling all the way from sunny Canada today, right?
It's sunny today, but it's starting to get into that cold, damp fall kind of scenario.
You've probably got about 20 feet of snow already, have you?
Not quite, but it's coming soon for sure. Do you get anywhere over in your area?
No, I'm in Ireland. I'm on the east coast, so we get about 2 snowfalls every year, but nothing of the magnitude to what you're used to. So, yeah, I'm always in awe of the snowfall in your country because it starts around now, the end of October, and it can happen right through till next May, right?
It can. Yeah. If
Cool.
we're unlucky, some winters it's exactly how it goes, and then you'll have some winters where it might only start after Christmas, and it might extend into about April. So it varies every year. We never know what we're going to get. We just have all the possible jackets that you need, and we just deal with it.
Right, okay, cool. Well, look, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But before we get there, just like to set the table if we can. And you've got quite the resume, Lianne. Podcaster, mother, athlete, Canadian, of course, which we can't forget. You're an osteopathist, and we know each other from a different forum that we're both part of, which is called Synthesizer, which is an amazing piece we're going to talk about a little bit later on as well. However, I think in looking forward to this episode, I think the piece that I'm really interested in, and it's very much in line with what we're doing here and Just Getting Started, is the transformation that you are currently going through from full-time employment to being self-employed. And I know that that's coming with all of the inevitable ups and downs and dramas and chest tightening experiences that we feel when we're going there, but I really can't wait to get into that. So you're so welcome, and I'm really looking forward to telling your story here today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, chest tightening moments is true. It's been quite the ride.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start off with getting to know Lianne a little better. So Canada, whereabouts in Canada are you?
Well, I was born and raised Montreal, Quebec, and I grew up and stayed there until about I was 18. And I've always been a bit of an explorer, so I did move around the country a bit for university and such. Part of that resume is a lot of degrees in healthcare. So I did 1 degree in Halifax, Nova Scotia, so more the east coast of Canada. And then I came back home to Montreal to do another degree. And then I went all the way to the west coast. Not quite west coast, but the west side, where I went to Alberta and Edmonton in order to do my master's degree. And then I came back to Montreal, and now I'm here. So I'm back where I started.
Okay. Well, I mean, some of the most amazing places. I still reckon that Montreal is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. It's very dear to our hearts in Ireland because we've had various Olympians performing there over the years. What year was the Olympics in Montreal? It was in
76 or 78?
The 70s, okay, great. So it's a beautiful place. I was there for my very first ice storm many years ago in the 90s. Oh, God, that was an experience where big sheets of ice would literally fly out of the air and wreck your car and break your windows. It was incredible.
That was in 98, wasn't it?
Was it 98? Was it right? I couldn't remember the year. Yeah, I was there for that. That was scary.
Oh my God, I remember walking my dog during that ice storm. We were home, and we were one of the lucky homes to still have power. I think there was only one little block in my town, and we were that lucky block. And a lot of family stayed, but I needed to get space from having so many people in my house, so I would take the dog out for walks a lot. And no joke, I would actually be walking, and I remember hearing creaking and cracking at a certain corner. And one day, actually, I walked by, and a big tree fell right behind me. It was actually very terrifying.
Right.
But when I look back on it now, I'm like, wow, it was more dangerous than I realized. But it was just part of it. It's like winter. We're like, okay, it's part of it.
Yeah. Nova Scotia, of course, strong Irish influence in Nova Scotia, even though it's called New Scotland. But have you heard people speaking with Irish accents over there?
I feel like some of the Canadians there have adapted some Irish, Scottish undertones to how they speak. But I haven't met a lot of Irish people when I was there.
Yeah, no, they do. I've heard some people from Nova Scotia speaking, and it's very close. It's very close to home, so it's a good spot. And actually, my piece of useless pub knowledge comes from Nova Scotia, because that's where we have a phrase that if you're not looking at your best, it's said that you're looking like the wreck of the Hesperus, right? And Nicky, you're looking like the wreck of the Hesperus today, meaning not my hair is all over the place, but you know what I mean. So the Hesperus was a boat that sailed out of Nova Scotia and got wrecked just off the coastline many years ago.
Oh my goodness!
And,
okay.
Yeah. So the next time you're in a pub, you can wow your friends with that story.
I will. I'm going to use it, and they're going to be like, "Whoa, so impressed."
Cool. And you're a competitive athlete at one stage as well, is that right?
At one point, I was more in high school. Not in any of the more popular sports. I played more of an obscure sport called broomball. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No.
It's similar to hockey, but you're on a sheet of ice, and you have similar equipment to a hockey player, but you don't skate on skates. You have these shoes that help grip to the ice. So you're running on this sheet of ice, and instead of a hockey stick, you have a stick that's shaped like with the tip of a broom. It's like a rubber end that's shaped like a broom. Yeah. And you have a big orange ball that's hard plastic that freezes as it rolls over the ice. So if you get hit from this ball, it is very unforgiving. But basically you run up and down the ice like in a hockey match, with a few different variants on the rules, but quite similar. And I started at the junior level. So I started at the provincial championships, and I was part of a really excellent team. I came in as like the newbie who just was in this environment of excellence within a dynasty that was already formed. And I got to learn and level up thanks to this high level of women who were in this group with me. So we went to provincial victory. We were national champions for 5 years in a row. And we even went to the world champions. We got the silver medal there, but it was to another rival team, also from Quebec, that actually won the world championships. So it was quite an experience. I learned a lot about discipline and how to balance your life and how to organize your days, just because in order to fit in that high level of performance, in order to excel in school and everything, I really had to organize my life from a very young age in order to get all that going.
Wow, so broomball is a big thing in Canada then. I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, I think it was bigger back in my heyday. I don't know if it's as popular anymore. I know it's still going, but I'm out of touch with it now, actually. I think there's still a strong community going. But when I was in it, I felt like this was going to be the next big thing. And I don't hear as much about it anymore, unfortunately.
It sounds like the all-action equivalent of curling. Would that be fair? So it's a team version of curling almost.
Yeah, curling has a whole other vibe. Curling is like, it's very methodical, it's very precise, and you have to be so in tune to your body to know exactly how much to push off I don't even know what the push off point is with the feet. I've done it a few times, but the little I've played in curling, you have to be so precise in how hard you push off and how much you spin the rock. Whereas like broomball, you're just going in brute force. You're just like running around like a crazy person and knocking people over. And so there can be similarities, but it's different finesse, I would say.
And do you wear protective clothing like hockey?
In broomball?
Yeah.
Yes, but less. Like hockey, they have all these like shoulder padding and everything. We would wear knee pads, shin guards, and elbow pads, and a helmet. And that's about it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So your surname is, I thought it was Balazsi, but it's actually Balazsi.
Yes.
What's the heritage there, and where do they come from?
It's Hungarian, actually. So I got the Balazsi name from my father. He's the son of 2 Hungarian immigrants who met here in Montreal back in the 30s. And it's a nice backstory. My grandfather was from a little potato farm in a little town called Nyíregyháza, which was 4 hours away from Budapest. And between the 2 world wars, he was about 15 years old, and his grandmother was a smart cookie. And she told him, there is going to be another war, and if you stay here, you will have to go to war on a horse and die, basically. So she paid every cent she had to send him on a boat to Montreal. And he came here at 15 years old and built a life that led to really nice prosperity for him. Like, it was really an admirable story. He had a really big hustler attitude and very strong entrepreneurship skills that helped lead to him changing his whole lineage and our destiny, really. It's really a wonderful story.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's very cool, yeah. I remember hearing the backstory of the big perfume company. What's it called? It's called not L'Oreal, but one of the other ones anyway. And she too was a Hungarian immigrant who went to either the States or Canada. So there must have been quite a lot of people who emigrated from Hungary at that time, were there?
I think so. Like, he was on a boat with a whole community of people who then dispersed, because I think he landed in Nova Scotia. Like, when I was in school in Halifax, I actually went and found him in the directory of the people who came over. And a lot of them dispersed from there. Some went to Toronto, some went down to the States. There was a small community that he knew that they all moved to Montreal, and they formed their own church from here, and they started welcoming more and more people over the years to come and join that community that way.
Yeah, right. So you pronounced the name of the origin village in Hungary very well. Does that mean that, do you still have some words of Hungarian?
I don't know that many, to be honest. I tried to learn when I was 13 because we used to be active members in that church. To be honest, I'm not very religious now, but that's where we grew up in that culture. So I tried to learn around 13, but already I was a bit too far behind in trying to grasp any roots for that language, because Hungarian really doesn't have any strong link to English or French. But I know things like yes, no, good day. So I have igen, which is yes, nem, which is no, jó napot is good afternoon, köszönöm szépen is thank you very much, and szévesen is you're welcome. But that's about my extent.
Yeah, you're onto it.
Yeah.
Definitely onto it.
Yeah.
Tell us about the world of osteopathy, which has been your life, or at least your working life, for a few years.
Yeah.
How did that all happen?
I discovered osteopathy around 2011. I had finished my master's degree as an occupational therapist, and I was still chasing, to be honest, I wanted to be a doctor because my father's a doctor and I wanted to follow in his footsteps, and it just wasn't happening. So I was getting to the point where I was finishing my master's, and I kind of knew there was like this whisper going, you're not meant to be an occupational therapist. And much respect to occupational therapists, because it's not easy, the work that they do. But I just knew it wasn't necessarily for me. So I came back home from Alberta and I was like, well, what the hell am I going to do now? I have 3 degrees and nothing that I want to do. And I did some soul searching. I went to talk to old professors. I talked to friends, and they kept saying, I even talked to a family friend who's a family doctor who loved treating people with backs, and especially him. He said, Lianne, you would be great in osteopathy. And I actually was like, what the heck is that? So I kind of went to the school here in Montreal. It's actually the founding school, the first school in Canada. And I went to an information session, and I just learned how intense it was with anatomy. Like, you learn anatomy to such detail, and I'm a big nerd of the human body. I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't know how they promise all these miracles by learning anatomy. I said, but I think I want to know more. So I kind of just followed that instinct. Funny, my parents were like, okay, well, when are you going to get a job? And I was like, okay. But they believed in me, and they let me pursue it. And it took 5 years. It's a 5-year program just at the undergrad level. And then you have 2 more years of doing clinical internship and writing a thesis and such. So all in all, I finally learned that osteopathy is about taking the person as a whole. So someone can come to you and say, my back hurts or my knees hurt. And for example, if you go see a physiotherapist, they're just going to check your knee or check your back, maybe the joint above, joint below, and they'll just stick to that zone where you're complaining about your pain. An osteopath goes, okay, I understand that you have discomfort there, but it's possible I'm not even going to touch that zone today. You're going to look at the whole body, and you're going to go dig to see where is the primary cause of your issue. And in some cases, that can be right where they're complaining. Like if it's your knee, it could be that you had a knee injury, you fell and you twisted your knee somehow in a sport, and that is actually the primary cause. But in most cases, when people come to me and they say, my knee hurts and I don't know why, nothing happened, that's usually because it's happening somewhere else. So that's where there may be an imbalance in your hips. There might be something all the way up in your neck. It could be you had a head trauma at some point and your whole body has shifted to a certain adjustment so that finally your knee is bearing that whole brunt. And so every day someone comes into my office and it's like I have to play detective or putting a puzzle together. I really have to sit there, take them as they are, not be biased by what they're saying or what I want to find. Because some things are funner to treat than others, I'll be honest. But you really have to take them where they're at that day. And between each person, I could have a whole day of knee problems, 5 people in a row of knee problems, and it could all be for different reasons. And
wow.
And within that individual person who comes to see me over multiple sessions, they may keep continuing to have that knee pain, but there'll be different pulling anchors on why the knee is having issues. Right. So no appointment is ever the same.
Okay, so have I got this right? Just before we go into that in a bit more detail, you had 3 degrees and then you started studying osteopathy for another 5 years. Is that right?
Yeah,
6 years.
I was in university level training for almost 15 years. I really didn't know what I wanted to do.
Me.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I knew I wanted to help others, but I didn't know how. And as I was going through my journey, I did get the epiphany of, I got the calling. I want to be a doctor. But the universe seemed to have other plans. The universe was like, no, you're close, but that's not quite it. So I started off in psychology. That was my first bachelor's degree. And it's in there that I got my epiphany of I wanted to pursue more medicine. And I'd started more in a Bachelor of Arts degree and slowly transitioned more into sciences while I was in that degree. And then I came home and I was like, okay, this is when I was going to start working for medicine. Because the whole that first bachelor's was basically me figuring it out and getting science prerequisites. So I did a second bachelor's degree in athletic therapy at Concordia University here in Montreal. And that's where I really pushed hard. I got involved in student government and all the things of volunteering. It was very medicine based. It was a great program. And then I went into my master's degree in occupational therapy for various reasons, but it was because medicine still wasn't taking me yet. And I was like, okay, well, I got to go get a master's and then I'll look real good. So I took whatever I could get at the time. And also I was in another relationship at the time where he was going to Alberta. So I was like, okay, well, win-win. I'll go do my master's there. And then finally the master's ended and I was like, okay, I'm still not happy. And that's when I had to start doing a reset of like, well, what do I really want if medicine doesn't happen? Because it's like I was so stubborn in my thinking that I had to be a doctor to be happy. But this was like the first signals of like, you don't have to be a doctor to have success in health. So that's,
Could you please unpack occupational therapy for dummies like me who I don't have an absolute clue what occupational therapy is? And
Sure. Occupational therapy is a rehab science. It's a rehab medicine, very similar to physiotherapy, but it's more adapted for people who may have suddenly developed any kind of disability or an accident that then makes them suddenly wheelchair bound. So those are the type of people who are going to come in and help you either change your environment in order to accommodate to your new situations. And depending on whether you're staying stable at that state or if you're on sadly a decline, the occupational therapist is the one who's going to come in and support you to accommodate the environment around you, or it's going to help you to find tools to accommodate to your new reality. So there can be a psychology aspect where it helps you really to enable you to keep pursuing your life goals and keep you functioning at a high level. Or it's going to be someone more like who has a physical disability who needs support on how to keep thriving and maintain their independence.
And does it cover things like your deportment and your sedentary position and so on? Is that part of it? Yeah,
it can be. Yeah, for sure.
And about installing, I don't know, ramps, access ramps at home and stuff like that. Is that all part of the remit of it?
That can be part of it. And some occupational therapists are even more on a whole advocacy board in order to promote more of that in either apartment buildings or in community centers or in schools. So it's in order to really be an activist for these people who may not always be considering their disabilities or their lack of access to certain areas. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Am I sensing, Lianne, that you have a deep sense of spirituality? I've heard you saying a few times now that the medicine didn't come to me, and maybe the world didn't expect me to go there or didn't want me to go there. Whatever it is there a higher force or something else that's driving you here?
Well, it's funny because I grew up in a bit more of a Protestant religion, and it never really spoke to me. I didn't like the whole structure of religion itself, but I did find I still had a spiritual aspect to me since I'm very young. So, to be honest, I don't tie to any religion, but I do believe there is some sort of higher power out there that when we align ourselves to really listen to what we truly need, I do feel like there's either some, call it karma, call it energetic alignment. I do feel like there's something of when we put ourselves fully into our truth, that the world then starts to respond back to you, whether it be the universe or karma, what have you. Yeah. I can't put words to it, but it just seems to align with me, with everything I've been doing.
And did this get stronger in you after 15 years of academia? Or, well, it was there from the very beginning, but did your experience over 15 years strengthen that, or did it help you see lots of different options?
Well, it's funny. I think I had it very strong as a child. And then as I started going more into the deep structure of academia, like at the university level, I feel like I started to go more into the heavy scientific method. I actually started to fall more into the rigidity of, no, if there's no evidence to prove it, then no, that's not real. So I actually was going further away from it. And it's funny, I didn't think about this until you asked me this question just now, but the more I fell into that rigidity and stubbornness, the less well I felt. Like I got more pain. I got more, anxiety. I had more just tension all over my body for just this. I have to prove with this evidence that I am good, So it's actually once I got more into osteopathy, and when I got into that program, I was already a mess. I had chronic back pain since I was a kid. I had a lot of muscle tension, and I was actually walking around with not much movement in my neck. So I was coming in maybe also trying to find solutions for myself and not realizing it. But as I went through the program, you have certain professors who come up to me and go, just look at me and go, your back must kill you. And I'm like, okay, weirdo, like, what is this? Like, how do you know that? And he was actually looking at my feet. So it all sounds strange, but I'm going somewhere with this. So he would actually see that I was suffering. And one professor I remember, I'll never forget, it was in my first year, and he put me on the table, and it was about an hour and a half, and he adjusted me, realigned me. I heard cracks that were terrifying in my body. And at the end of it, I'm lying there and he's trying to just let my body integrate everything. And I started crying like a baby. And it was as if I'd just been holding on to everything for so long. And he just said something powerful in the sense of you don't have to keep fighting being aligned and happy. It's as if I didn't want to align physically because on a spiritual or mental level, I was blocking it. So it's my physical aspect was showing that. And I think I went home that day. Sorry, go ahead.
No, was there an origin story there for getting you to that place?
For getting me to the place of being on that therapy table, you mean? Or
for getting you to the place where you were fighting being okay and fighting your worth and fighting your self-esteem and so on.
Yeah, I don't think there was any big, traumatic event that made it that I'd lost faith in myself or made me have all this pain. I think it was just honestly growing up, and I think I would just absorb a lot of what other people would put on me. So if I was trying to do something different or try to do something innovative, it would be oh, you can't do that. You're not smart enough to do that, or you can't do that. You're a girl. Girls can't do that. Or I got told a lot in my life by different people who I loved and trust, you can't because you're you. So it's as if at one point I shut down and say, okay, everyone wants me to go into this box, and this is the box. I cannot leave this box. So it's only when osteopathy came around, and it was actually the first time the box was basically my body holding everything in, whereas I was probably jumping around like this within the box. And the osteopath came, broke down some barriers and said, you don't have to sit in this box anymore. But it was a big miracle at the moment, but it's almost like it took years of then learning and understanding how osteopathy works, being more open to letting this kind of change in, that over time the walls started breaking down more and more. So like now,
isn't it sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, like, in the end, you know, do I still experience aches and pains? Sure. But the person I am now, if I stayed on the same course I was on, I would be so overconsumed with physical pain that I don't know if I'd have the drive to be doing anything that I'm doing today. I would have just been bitter and on painkillers or maybe even antidepressants just to manage the pain cycle. Or they would have diagnosed me with fibromyalgia or something.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing that we think that when we... so the stereotype is that you go through your education, you find what you want to do in life, and you come out of that education system like a bull at a gate. You just can't wait to get going. You're ripping at the ground and you're just ready to take on the world. But in your case, it wasn't like you were completely boxed in by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
Until you...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I think I developed such a rigid idea of where I was supposed to go that any opportunity outside of that path was like either being a failure or it was just not, I wasn't open enough to it, I guess. But obviously there were signals showing, no, maybe you should explore something different.
Yeah. So looking back on that time, do you look at that at those thought processes as being limiting beliefs as we know them in the classic sense? Yeah, but they were limiting beliefs imposed by your environment and the surroundings and the people that you knew and loved, right?
I believe so, and I don't say this blaming them or that they were bad to me or whatever. I think it's just we all have our own programming and beliefs, and I think these people were trying to guide me the best that they could. And I honestly think at one point there was always a deeper knowing going like, no, that doesn't have to be your story. That's their story. It doesn't have to be yours.
Wow. I think we could probably end the podcast here because that's very powerful stuff right there, isn't it? I mean, it's true. I mean, when you think about it, how many people in the world have a similar story to tell? You know, how many people in the world have come to the realization that the people that they were hanging out with all those years were actually a negative influence on them when they thought that was how we should be living our lives, and so on and so forth. We could go on forever. But somehow you had the temerity and the faith and the strength to see through that and actually look for alternatives, and osteopathy became your savior in some sense, and that's amazing.
It kind of did. And I remember when I was going through it, like, not gonna lie, at one point my parents thought I was part of a cult. They were like, what is this program? And like, I guess maybe I was starting to talk a little more zen about things. Like, at one point they legitimately thought it was a cult. And then finally, my parents actually started seeing an osteopath. They went to see one of my bosses at the clinic I used to work at. And that's when they went, oh, okay, this is actually legit. But it took a while.
Right. And is the world of osteopathy not completely developed in the medical system? Is it still a very much niche practice? Is that the way I would describe it?
Well, I believe in Great Britain it's more integrated, and in France and in Europe I feel like osteopathy is more integrated into the medical system there. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Nicky, but I believe osteopaths can collaborate with doctors in hospitals and stuff over there. But in Canada we're seen almost like this little side profession that some will call us charlatans. They'll say that there's no scientific fact, there's no research base, but it is actually a very powerful tool when people open themselves up to it. So we're actually in a process now in the province of Quebec where we're fighting to have our profession be recognized with its own professional order in order to be part of the whole healthcare system. And we've advanced quite a bit. We are at the point now where we have an office for professional orders. So it's in French, it's called l'Office des Professions du Québec. And it's they've approved our file. We're just waiting on the government to sign a paper. But that can take years.
What's the difference between an osteopath and a chiropractor?
They have similar roots. From my understanding, I've never personally been to a chiropractor, but my understanding is they work more with the actual structure. So you have vertebrae out of place, they're going to crack the vertebrae back into place, they'll crack your neck back into place, they'll do the whole structural aspect of it. Whereas osteopathy, we will work on the structure that way. We will crack something if we need to. We don't do the same techniques, the same amplitude of the movement. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen videos on YouTube of chiropractors doing these big movements that do massive cracks. We go more fine-tuned to really find the right passage and do a little small amplitude movement. But we'll take also all the tissues in the body into consideration. So yes, we work the structure, because in our philosophy is structure governs function. But then on top of it, you have to go and work everything inside that structure. So fascia, muscles sometimes, but a lot of people make the mistake with muscles that they think they have to loosen muscles and stretch the muscles, but the muscles are actually just guarding and protecting your structure when your structure's failing you. So yes, we'll take that into consideration, but it's more going even sometimes into your organs, like just seeing if the organs are well positioned, because the organs are attached to the fascia and they have ligaments that go and attach on your structure. So if an organ's just kind of sitting there going like, I'm not moving well, and it could be for various reasons, sometimes diet, stress, what have you, we have to try and help bring movement back into that area so that everything can start to relax and glide, and then usually muscle tension will actually start to dissipate when we start targeting the right zone.
Wow. You called it a philosophy, or you referred to the philosophy of osteopathy a few minutes ago, and I'm wondering, what are the origin stories of osteopathy? I mean, is it something that somebody developed, and what's the history there?
So the history starts with a doctor from the United States called Andrew Taylor Still, and I'm not the best history buff, but I believe it was in the late 1700s. I'd have to check that and get you the right date. But he had children at the time who were dying of polio. His wife died from, I believe, tuberculosis or after childbirth. Like, he basically had a span of deaths in his family where he saw the medical system was failing him. And he said there's got to be another way in order to encourage health into the body. So he actually would start, I want to say, maybe it's not exactly this, but he started to take cadavers from the medical school, and he started to dissect them in really intense detail. And he started to see all these links that I'm trying to talk about today, but he would probably show you a way better picture. And when you look at the books of his studies, he would start drawing and mapping out how everything's all interconnected. So it really started with him, and his message spread to other medical students. And over time, he developed his own school. And from there, it expanded throughout the States. And in the States itself, it actually over time merged with the traditional medical system. So now in the States, you can have a DO next to your name, so a doctor of osteopathy, or have an MD, and you can still go beyond to be a surgeon, or go be an ophthalmologist, a psychiatrist. You can have a DO to your name, and you're still getting all the medical training like a medical doctor. You just get a few more of those foundations of how the connections in the body happen in the osteopathic philosophy. But from the States, some of Andrew Taylor Still's students then moved on into England and I believe in France. And within England and France, they started to expand even further in different philosophies and different regions of the body. Like, I believe it's in France, one of them started really going deep into the cranial sphere. So everything around our cranial bones and how they connect down through your nervous system, and how you can have tensions from, say, a head trauma that then give you other issues throughout your body, or vice versa. There's also, I think the first source in Europe, though, was in England, which the British School of Osteopathy. That one's pretty popular for in Great Britain. And they stuck more to the mechanical aspects. They do cover more of like the whole global, but from the ones I've conversed with, they stick a lot more to mechanical, and then they develop more into the deep tissue over time with post-grad education.
Yeah. Is there any relationship with Eastern medicines or Eastern philosophies? Because we see that a lot of the modern, I don't want to use the word alternative remedies, but let's just call it that for want of a better phrase. They emanate from they emanate from Eastern philosophies and traditions. Mm-hmm. So is there any relationship there with osteopathy?
That's a good question. maybe he was inspired by that, but I couldn't actually say. I think he actually went straight for anatomy, and he just went, the truth is in the anatomy. So he was all about keeping it pure with anatomy, and explained that all the physiology is a response to the quality of the anatomy's state. That was his real philosophy. But when it comes to the Eastern medicine, it's possible that they developed their philosophies on a similar tone, but just expressed differently. Like, personally, I find now, like, when I collaborate with other health professionals, or even in my own journey, like, I love combining those two together. Like, I will go do osteopathy to help clear up my structure, but then a couple weeks later, I'll go get an acupuncture session, and the two together are excellent because you're opening up the structure, and then you work the meridians through acupuncture, and it just makes everything flow really nicely.
Yeah, okay. So, if I'm correct, then a sports person who's had an injury wouldn't necessarily go to an osteopathist. They, like a back injury, they would more likely. I hear them going to chiropractors all the time, but I haven't heard of them going to an osteopathist.
It's possible. Osteopath.
Yeah. Osteopath. That's it. Yeah.
There you
Osteopath.
go.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's all right. They could. Usually, what I tell people, because I'm at the point now where I can be so absorbed in what I do that I could see possibility in an athlete coming to see me for an issue, but I really try to synthesize it in a whole spectrum of, with all these services, what is the best path for each person? So what I see happening with someone who has an athletic injury, probably the best bet is not even necessarily a chiropractor to start, but to start with a physiotherapist. Because if you have a big blunt trauma to a joint, first thing you need to do is get the swelling down, and there's probably some muscle weakness that's developed from the trauma. So you got to go get the strengthening going there first and get the swelling down. And if there's any other kind of compensation patterns that you need to address with your muscles. But then usually what happens is people aren't fully satisfied with the result. There's always a little something to tweak. And that's usually when I'll see them a few weeks later after swelling's gone down or what have you. And that's when I can actually find the pattern of the impact or the slight misalignment of their structure, and I can go help realign it. Excuse me. Okay. I can help realign it. Yeah. Mm. And a chiropractor can do that too, but we have different ways of going about realigning. So it depends on what the person prefers.
Mm. Now, if we take an extreme case, I'm just trying to delve into a day in the life of Lianne in her clinic, right? Let's say somebody presents with an osteoarthritic condition. Mm-hmm. Are you suggesting that the problem is presenting as an issue with the joints or the bones, but it's actually being caused by a wider problem in the body? Is that right? Or is it the other way around?
It can depend by the case, but one thing I find, especially when it comes to osteoarthritis, so osteoarthritis is a mechanical issue. And some people get osteoarthritis mixed up with regular arthritis, two different things. Arthritis is more systemic, so that's more going on with inflammation that's spread out throughout your body and then irritating your joints. But you're asking osteoarthritis, which is more wear and tear and grinding of your joints. So when it comes to that, the big mistake people can make is to just work on that joint itself where it's happening, because it's true that they are tight together, they're close, but usually what happens is the body has possibly taken up so many different patterns that the final solution the body finds is to have that grinding going at whatever joint. It could be in your neck, it could be in your fingertips, it could be, for example, in your fingertips, that you have so much being pulled into your neck and your junction between your head and your neck, that you have so much tension going here that everything's being pulled and is pulling your joints of your fingers closer together. So I'm not saying that's everyone's case, but it really is often that you have to really, and it's hard because sometimes I'm tempted to just go work where they're in pain, but you really have to take a step back and go, okay, I see you, I understand that's where your discomfort is, but where is this all pulling from that's pulling on your hands and your joints so much? And it could be they got a fracture there when they were 15, and over time it's just been displaced and grinding down and down, and now they have arthritis there, osteoarthritis. So that's fine. And in that case, we work that specific area. But yeah, you really have to make sure you're not getting sucked into the temptation of always going to the place where it hurts.
Yeah, I'm really interested in this because I've had an arthritic condition for donkey's years, and somehow it got kicked off by a sports injury. I injured my knee badly, and all of a sudden 2 months later I couldn't walk. And I'm particularly interested because I feel that my arthritic condition was caused more by mental mental challenges or mindset challenges. Than maybe the physical injury itself. And I'm wondering, is that territory that you go into in your practice? Is there a link between mindset and the actual physical ailments?
There is. And this is the part where people might think this girl is crazy and we're going to stop listening.
Oh, no. I love this. Love it.
Because just a little backstory of why I came to believe this is because I had my own issues with concussion. And I suffered from post-concussion syndrome for 2 years. And, I did all the right things. I did the, rest, don't look at screens. I still continued my studies, but it was all on paper back then still. So I was able to get through. But as I started unraveling all this stuff, even after the concussion was gone, there would always be a lot of things around my skull that was off, that was pulling on the rest of my body. So even stuff with my back problems, like a deeper layer of my back problems was stuff in my skull. So the osteopath that helped me through this, I think we spent 2 to 3 years where every time I go see her, I tell her, my knees hurt today. Nope, it's up here in your head. And yeah, there's a structural part to that, but there's different layers within the skull all the way to the brain itself, where some of the things that are actually holding you back is what we call, I'm telling you, people are going to think I'm crazy. It's like a spasm in your brain. It's like there's an overactivity going on in your brain that we go and release that then helps to dissipate other tensions that could be pulling into different joints in your body. Yeah. And I wouldn't say this if I didn't live through it and experience it myself.
I totally get it. Mm-hmm. I totally get it. I'm with you 100%. Yeah.
And there's different layers of that. There's the physical, like you get a concussion and you have like a surface area issue. Then you start having emotional issues that are more deeper in the brain tissue that feel like a very rock hard egg that's bouncing around. And then you have other levels that's transgenerational, like family members passing down beliefs that don't belong to you, like I kind of mentioned earlier.
Okay, so now it's all coming full circle. I'm starting to get a complete picture now of osteopathy. And you mentioned earlier on that, it was in the United States and then Canada and then the UK and so on, and it still has to be properly integrated. And I can see why the medical system is reluctant maybe to set up its own whatever infrastructure for this, because it's perhaps seen as woo-woo, or it's perhaps seen as alternative, and they don't necessarily understand the link between the mindset and the emotional stuff and the physical body the way that you do, right? Is that the actual blocker?
It can be. I think because it's got to be rooted in science, and a lot of what I'm talking about, how do you actually put this in a research paper, right?
Yeah,
it's very hard. And one of the big things with the scientific method is you have to have an objective tool in order to measure a before and after result. But the tool is my hands. So no research we ever do will actually be objective enough to justify that we are getting this result and this result, and it's not just me trying to induce a belief in you that you're doing better. Even though that's not what I do, because at the end of the day, the person feels good or don't feel good, I have no control over that. But when it comes to research, they're going to say, oh, no, there's bias because it's a person who's giving a human contact, giving human attention, so we're inducing a placebo effect. And to be honest, it's possible that that's part of it too. But the whole point is we want the body to self-regulate itself. So what it comes down to, everyone can think I'm doing all these fancy techniques and moves and wow, she's so good, she's doing this. All I'm doing is giving someone a support so they can self-regulate within the box, with lack of a better word, the framing I'm giving to give them the support to get the release they need. And you have to be present on very different levels in order to make that happen.
So you are a true physical therapist. As opposed to a physiotherapist, you're a physical therapist.
Don't tell them that, though.
Yeah, exactly. So you're actually providing therapy through physical contact or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is affecting the whole system rather than just the injury itself.
Yeah. And
that's so interesting.
It is interesting. It can be terrifying though for people to open themselves up to this kind of thing, because it really does make you have to almost be vulnerable to your therapist. Whereas you go to physiotherapy, you know, okay, like I got to strengthen this muscle, I do this exercise, and that part stays out of it. But to really get a true transformation through osteopathy, you have to be very vulnerable, and you have to be very, very open to connecting almost like on a deep level with the person who's working with you. Because if not, the transformation is going to be met with resistance, and you might get a little benefit, but then you might go back. So you have to your old patterns. You really have to open yourself up to the possibility to receiving that kind of support from someone else.
Yeah, and during the course of your studies in osteopathy, what form does the mindset education take? Are you working on a particular philosophy or a particular methodology to understand the whole mindset piece? You can match that up with the physical side, or how is that integrated into your education?
Oh boy. It depends on which school you go to, because now there's many schools out there because it's not regulated. But the school I went to really tried to hold true to the philosophy. But to be honest, in the studies themselves, especially at the undergraduate level, so the first 5 of the 7 years, it's really more about the methodology. They wanted to prove like, hey, we have techniques that work and get results. And honestly, you can graduate from that and you can get by and you can help people get results. But the philosophy of how, like I'm speaking to you on how you get that connection, it comes from a whole self-work that you have to do yourself. And it's also by being in a room in that environment with other osteopaths who may be 20, 30 years ahead of you, who embody that in their everyday life. And some people might find them really strange and awkward, but they just see through people so clearly. So it's by being around those people more, and at first being a little freaked out when they say things about you and you're like, okay, like this is weird. But
how did you know that?
But it's almost like there's a talent over time you develop by being able to see past the mask of people. And that's something that's not really taught in the classroom. That's just by the way you're being, and also by as much you're able to become vulnerable yourself, to shed all your beliefs and limitations in order to stand in the one truth, which, you know, now I'm going to get all sappy here, is like the one big truth is that as long as you can show love for yourself and love for others, everything else comes. So when I'm on my table, I hope my patients don't get freaked out if they hear me say this, but I am actually in unconditional love, a state of unconditional love as someone's on my table, because that's what they need in order to get their transformation.
Wow. I'm in awe. Honestly, I don't say this to a lot of people that I talk to, but I want to become an osteopath right now.
I'm honestly, a good seller, aren't I?
Yeah. I love the philosophy of holistic treatment, taking the whole rather than just the isolated piece, and working on the whole part, including the mindset and the emotional side. That's amazing. That is really amazing.
Thank you. I think
you for that. Yeah.
No, it's my pleasure. Like, I think honestly, more and more, this is what the world needs. Like, when you start to step back.
Absolutely.
It's because once you start walking this path, it's very hard to stay in the narrative of what everyday world puts out there. So,
yeah.
You know, people getting caught up with things like the news, or, you know, what Trump did, or what our prime minister did, like Trudeau, like, everyone gets so wrapped up in all of this negativity, and they just go with this groupthink. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm isolated from society, but you have to be able to block out all that noise in order to be able to help others who are suffering. Because if I get absorbed into all that noise, I'm not going to be well, and I'm not going to be able to help anyone else. So it's really a whole different way of living, which honestly not a lot of people understand. And I don't think I've talked as much in depth about it to many friends, but Nicky, you're getting all the answers out of me today.
Yeah, it's great. It's so interesting. I'm interested to know, what part does diet play? What part does foodstuffs that you put in your gob, what part does all that play in the overall goal of the osteopath?
That's it, because there's one part where, yes, I can help realign you in all these awesome, cool ways, but your system itself has to be fueled properly in order to accept and to keep integrating what's going on. So there are some cases when people say, come to me for back pain, but it's actually pulling from their digestive system. So it could be they have inflammation because they're not eating the right foods. They may have some intolerances, or, you know, some people, it might be just like they're having too much fun on the weekends, having too many drinks, you know, like all that is stuff that will inflame your digestive tract and will over time pull and overwork certain organs. So it is funny. There are times when people are on my table and I show them, I feel the zone, and I tell them, look, imagine that you eliminate all this from your system, and they actually feel the release in their gut, in their stomach, and they feel that their back starts to ease. The tricky part is getting people to actually get on board with making the changes necessary, because if you don't know what feeling good feels like, and this is your baseline, it's very hard to think you can go further. So it's almost like you have to take certain lifestyle changes with a blind faith in order to realize that that's going to help support even more release in your body and in your system.
It strikes me that it's not named correctly. When you think osteo, you're thinking bones, right? But it's so much more than bones. So shouldn't it be called something else?
Yeah, osteopathy is from the root osteon, which I believe is bone, and pathos, which is Greek, I think, for pathology, for not being well. So I think it still holds true to what Andrew Taylor still was saying, is that if the structure's not well, the body's not well. But it just, there's so much to unpack in that whole. Yeah. But I agree. People have said similar things, but how do you put a word to all of that? It's a lot.
Yeah. Do most osteopathists speak with the same fervor and love as you do about the therapy?
I think it depends who you come across. I think it depends who they've been around in their learning as well. I was very fortunate to be, you know, I worked alongside the osteopath who brought osteopathy to Canada. Like, he founded the first school, and then he spread out into different schools in the country. I studied next to his son, who was bathed in it. So through osmosis, I got to learn a lot of those original foundations, and the people that this man attracted to come and become osteopaths and help him build this school, they were just gems. And to be honest, some of them were full on witches, but, you know, so I do think it matters a lot with who you are in the room with. So if I had gone to a different school, I think I would still have learned the techniques. I think I would still be able to help people, but I don't think I would have had the same kind of power of transfer or optimal transformation, I should say. I don't think I hold any power. Let me be clear. But in order to induce such a strong transformation in people in a short amount of time, is thanks to the people I put myself in the same room with, for sure. So
you see yourself as a guide rather than an imposer of remedy, so to speak.
And it's funny because people say, Lianne, you should market yourself more. You should do this. You should do that. Like, I worked in a clinic. It's one of the bigger clinics in Montreal, and that clinic itself just is known by reputation. But it's not because they put out a lot of ads either. Like, we're all from that same training. And over time, people know that we were good there. And then over time, I just outgrew it and wanted to have my own little spot. But even from that, just by how my hands and my presence speak for itself, I personally have not had to fight to get new clients, because all my old clients followed me to my new place. And they are referring me people just by me being, which is wonderful, because I'm not really a fan of having to go market and impose what I do on other people.
Yeah.
I want people to have a feeling.
That's really interesting, because moving the discussion on to your own business now and how you market yourself, I'm not likely to see you at a well fest, am I?
I don't think so.
You're not going to be presenting on stage at a well fest.
I don't know what, like, a well fest, is that an actual thing? Or just
so we have a thing called Wellfest here, and actually I think that might be a brand name. So if you are involved in Wellfest, I think you do a great job, and I'm not trying to diss anybody here, but so a wellness festival is generally a meeting of many people, and of people who are involved in alternative therapies, and they're involved in wellness retreats, and you know, generally improving the condition of people, right? But I think it is associated with, certainly associated with mindset transformation work, and also some so-called alternative medicines like Reiki and so on.
Right.
So that's not where you would hang out, is it?
I think it would depend, because honestly, to be quite honest, I'm really more sensitive now to environments that I step into. So I have gone to do different, say, conferences or shows where, you know, the partner where I have my new space with, she was going for a pediatric kind of setting, and she had a little booth, and she asked me to sit at her booth. And energetically for me, it seems so desperate. It seems very like, please, here, let's network. Here's my card. And for me,
pick me.
Yeah. And for me, and I'm not saying those things are bad, because of course we all have businesses and we all want to grow. We all want to network and meet new people. And it can be a wonderful place to make connections. But personally, I'm in a state right now where I am open to doing those things. I'm open to speaking on stage about things like this, but I feel like it has to be truly aligned with who's hosting, what kind of people are coming to receive it. And it's not necessarily because I want to start pitching and showing everyone I'm the best. It would just really be to hold true to my message and hope it plants a seed of really trying to take care your health into your own hands, and to realize what kind of wealth you can have just by having your health.
Yeah. So as you now embark on this, as we described it at the top of the hour, the precarious journey of self-employment, there's probably a good place to start in this story, and that is, what do you actually want? So what's your vision for you, for you and for your business, Lianne?
It's a good question, because I've been kind of just adapting into this transition, to be honest. But for now, it's been just to have a space to receive those who still want to receive my care. But I do have a vision to go beyond just the therapy table. Like I want to start spreading this kind of message to people who come and seek me out most, which, to be honest, is usually women who are in burnout or who are in high stress, and they're starting to just their health is starting to take a toll. And what I've come to notice is these women usually get to this point because they've lost a certain sense of their identity. So funny enough, I think there's a part of it where there's an old version of me that I think I'm trying to help. And I think a lot of these women coming to me are an old version of me, and I may be only, honestly, 20% ahead. I'm not that much more ahead. I went through burnout not that long ago, but it's been through tools and taking care of myself, and of course blending therapeutic models like osteopathy and such, that I'm able to thrive more today and have space to be a mom, run my own clinic space, starting a community on school, which is where we met, and just being able to pursue what I really want that feels truly aligned. So to be honest, do I have a full end game and plan? Not really. All I know is that I want to just keep helping others with my message and my beliefs in order to help them thrive further and not be stuck in that place where they're still contained in this box that they think they have to be in, and that there might be so much more if they're brave to break out of that box. Take
us to the place where you knew, God damn it, I am burnt out here.
Oh,
what
boy.
led to that, and what was that like for you?
Well, I should start by saying that I'm a stubborn little bee. So yeah. I probably was burnt out long before I ever wanted to admit it. And I think a lot of people can be like that. They just keep
By the way,
going.
can I just take you up on a point there? I'm a stubborn little bit. Yes, you are. But that's in stark contrast to another part of you, which is very open-minded and very willing to look at different ways to get to where you want to go. So there's a couple of interesting little dynamics going on there, right?
I'm a bit of a living contradiction that way.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I'm stubborn with my own willingness to go where I want to go. And if I have an idea in mind, I almost need to be stubborn, because I can be swayed by all these, oh, it can be cool if I go this way, or what if I go that way? I can totally get into almost an ADD mode where I'm like, okay, there's so many options I can do. So I almost have to be stubborn and pick a lane and stick to it. It's kind of one of the reasons why I did multiple degrees and didn't just jump ship after a year if I knew that it wasn't the right fit. It was no, at least I'm going to have the degree and I'll figure it out once I have the degree. It was there's a bit of that going on. So you
were suffering from the tyranny of choice as well. you could achieve anything in your life, and it was a case of saying, right, okay, yes, I can do anything, but I have to bring it all in and narrow my focus a little
exactly.
bit. Right?
And I think I'm honestly someone where, as much as it all sounds cool where I'm going and it's fun, there is a part of me that is a very curious student. And if I could go back and be 18 as many times as I want to and redo a new degree, Nicky, I would do all of them. I'd go and try and be an architect. I'd go and learn history. I'd go and learn how to write a novel. Like I would do it all. So at one point, it's almost like I have to rein myself in and be stubborn, or else I just will go off the rails and I'll pick new projects all the time.
So again, this is hugely interesting because yes, you would do all of that, as I would do as well, right? And I certainly had plenty of commentary around my so-called inability to focus over the years, as I'm sure you have had as well. And then it suddenly dawned on me a few years ago that actually my superpower is my curiosity.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's your superpower as well.
Absolutely. If I wasn't
curious, because that allows you
to
flourish,
yeah. If I wasn't curious, I wouldn't be able to dig so deep, even when I'm treating someone on my table, or if I'm working with my one-on-one clients. Like, it's the curiosity that goes and digs the gold in the end.
Yeah. So take us back now.
Yes. To the burnout. So, I think I was always someone who just wanted to succeed. So there was a lot of pushing through since I was a young student. Like, I think I was 14 years old, back with the broom ball time. Like, I was in a challenging school in French, and it was a French from France, and it was a very strict school. So I knew I had to be organized and disciplined and stubborn. So I was actually starting sleep deprivation by the time I was 14 years old. I would go after school. My school would finish at 5 o'clock. I'd go to the arena and I would practice till about 7 o'clock. Then I'd come home, shower, eat. But then I'd be stuck doing homework till almost 2 a.m. every night. And then I'd get up at 6 a.m. and do it all over again. So that was a routine I developed very early. And probably that was one of the reasons why I thought I could do medicine. Because I'm like, hey, I function on 4 hours of sleep. I can be a doctor, no problem, you know? So it started with that, but I continued those habits into all my university years. I would work hard during the week, but then I started to play hard on the weekends. So I was always in sleep debt. So that's probably the big foundation of where things were starting. And then I got into, doing osteopathy. I graduated and finally finished school. I was 32 years old. So then it's like, okay, now I got to catch up for lost time, not building an income. Like, I'm such a fortunate person. My parents let me live with them until I got married at 33. So I was able to just blitz and go and build income so that I can buy my first house and everything. It was wonderful. But I was doing 10 patients a day, and that's 1 hour sessions. So 10 hours. And some people can go, well, that's not a big deal. I can do 10 hours on my computer, and I'm not undermining that, but I'm sorry to say 10 hours of being grounded and available to receive, present. You're absorbing a lot of other people's pain and problems. Like, I was coming home and it would be, say, a Friday night. I pop a glass of wine and I would start absorbing all the aches and pains that my patients had been describing throughout the week. So there was a part of me that wasn't protecting my energy and my well-being. So I started accumulating a lot of that, unfortunately. So the burnout really came because I kept pushing. It's once I had 2 kids under 2 during COVID. Basically, I had my daughter in 2019, in the summer 2019. And right before I was about to go back to work, COVID hit. So we stayed home. And my daughter didn't sleep the first 8 months of her life, but then she got pretty good. So I was finally starting to feel like what good sleep was, because I wasn't going back to work and doing 10 patients a day. So my husband and I were like, well, the clinic shut down, the kid's sleeping. Why don't we start being open to number 2? And I can be very fortunate to say number 2 came almost that second. Like, I don't even know how the kid came. Like, that was it. So now I have 2 kids and I've been out of work, but my second kid, my son, as much as he is an adorable little cuddle monster, he didn't let me sleep for 18 months. He woke me up every hour for 18 months. And I think I lived with that trauma in my brain of, oh my God, the baby's going to wake me up. The baby's going to wake me up. But my nervous system was already dysregulated from all the other stuff I had been doing beforehand. So if my son ever hears this, it's not his fault. It's just everything else before made it that I wasn't well enough prepared to be able to receive that intensity by the time he came.
Yeah.
So
where does the, sorry, just a quick question on that one. So where does the show me a calm mother and father, and I will show you a calm child? So did that argument ever enter your head? I mean, did you question yourself and your own well-being as a reason that your son wasn't sleeping so well?
It's possible, because it's not like things were terrible at home, but I think the stress of the pandemic, I don't think we realized in the moment, but we were having, you know, tensions between different family members about different philosophies of how to handle, you know, being in isolation and having your bubble. And, you know, there was arguments about vaccines, and like, I'm not going to say what my opinion is on it, but like, there was just different, like, there was a lot of this undertone tension from the big core of, you know, friends, family, neighbors. Like, we had neighbors like calling the police to rat on people if they stepped outside. Like, it was, so there was this undertone of, I thought in the time I was handling it okay, because I'm a stubborn bee who pushes through, but I think I was actually really in this low undertone stress for a long time that only now when I look back, I realize was probably not helpful being pregnant with my son. And he actually still shows sometimes these little distress moments where like he's more sensitive to certain things. He's more like, something seems to not be going right, and he picks up on it right away. And it could be something silly like his stuffed animal got forgotten at daycare, you know, like he's a little less go with the flow than my daughter. So what you say holds true for sure.
So you come out of that and you're starting to feel worse for wear 18 months into it, right?
Yeah. And finally he started sleeping again. And then I was like, oh, good. Now I can breathe, and now I can get back to where I was going. And honestly, it took way too long. Like, I would sleep the night, but the sleep wasn't good quality. I wasn't getting any deep sleep. I wasn't getting any REM sleep. I was gaining weight, and even if I tried to exercise, I'd balloon up even more. Like, my whole hormonal system was completely dysregulated on top of the nervous system being dysregulated. So it just became this battle against my body of, I'm trying to do healthy things, and I even tried to, you know, eat healthier, and let's try this supplement. And like, I was trying all these things blind because I was following what the health influencers were saying on Instagram, which is something no one should ever do because it's all in such a very rigid context. Like, don't buy stuff from the links of people on Instagram. Like, don't do it. So I just got swayed in all these different ways of trying to be better. And it didn't actually kick in until I actually stopped and paused a lot of things and started to turn back inward. And to be honest, the journey is still going on, because as I was ending my maternity leave and getting back to work, I actually went on a retreat, but it was actually a retreat with my own osteopath. She's a few years older than me, but she's eons ahead with her presence and her capacity to heal and everything. And it was a lot of just silence, being in nature, quiet. We were by a little body of water that trickled and just made those peaceful little river sounds. And I thought we were going to be doing coursework and going hard, and it was all about learning how to just be present and enjoying the quiet. And that's when I first felt actual nervous system regulation and was able to go back to work and not feel depleted anymore when I started addressing my patients. And that's only been about a year. And that's when finally things started to align again, where it became easier to say no to things that don't serve me anymore. Like, say no to going out on the weekend if I need to sleep. Like, I will now just go to sleep at 9:00 on a Saturday night and go full grandma mode. And you know what? It's lovely. I recommend everyone does
amazing,
it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah.
I said no to alcohol because I noticed, like, I'm a girly who loves her white wine, but I started to notice anytime I'd have a sip of alcohol, if I had even like a little glass the night before going to see my patients, I couldn't connect as well to them and be as much connected to source that I need to be present for them. So it became over time that it's just, okay, well, I can't have during the week now because I'm treating patients. And then it became, I had no desire during the weekends either. And it's just something gradual over time that you develop. And all these little things stacked over time that helped pull me out of that hole of burnout by just truly fitting in with what's aligned with being connected. And that's what led me out of it. And like, am I perfect now? No, but I'm able to listen to those cues and honor them better now than I ever could before.
Yeah, the whole notion of burnout is a very interesting one, because we see it in a lot of different parts of life, like a work burnout and even an athletic burnout and stuff like that. So the burnout that you're describing, would the medical people have a name for it? Would they fully recognize it? And what do you say to people who say, well, Lianne, you just had 2 children and, you know, one of them didn't sleep, and you know, you've got all of the stresses of work and life and modern living on top of you. So what's the difference between that and is there a thing called clinical burnout? Is there?
I imagine there is. I know there's different labels to burnout, but to me, they're all the same. They all come down to the same thing to me, and that's just you're out of alignment with who you are and what your truth is. Ooh. That's what it is.
That's nice. That's good.
You can label it clinical, you can label it work, you can label it family, relationship. Doesn't matter to me. You're out of alignment somewhere, and it might be on multiple planes. It could be physical, it could be mental, emotional, or it's spiritual. And that's when you're really like getting the deep burnout, when it's spiritual, because you're not aligning with who you truly are and you're living someone else's life.
Wow. Now, there's been a few gold nuggets in this conversation already, but that's up there with the best of them. So a true definition of burnout, or whatever you want to call it, is when you're out of alignment with who you truly are.
That's the way I see it. Yeah.
You should trademark that, and actually you should put your name on the end of that, and put it up there with the Tony Robbins quotes and so on, because it's true.
He'll steal it if I don't trademark it.
Yeah,
right?
Get it done quick. So, fast forward, and you are now fully self-employed.
Yes.
You made the announcement a few weeks ago and we were all so impressed, and we were all going, "Oh my God, Lianne, that's just amazing! That I'm quitting my job." So you quit your job. Not that there was anything wrong with the job. I definitely think that was the case, but you decided that plowing your own furrow, so to speak, was the way to go in your life. Why?
That's the thing. The clinic I worked at, I'm so grateful for the time and experience they gave me there, because if it weren't for them, I wouldn't have put in the reps in order to feel as confident and as good as a clinician that I like to think that I am. I don't think I'm terrible anyway, thanks to them. But what it comes down to was, on paper, everything was fine. Like, honestly, even I think my bosses to this day are flabbergasted on why I would dare leave them. And I think it's because just somewhere deep down, there's a part of me that said, like, I need to be free to treat when I want to treat. And if I want to cancel a day because I'm not feeling it, I can do that. If my kid's sick, I don't have to call my boss and justify it. I can just let my patients know. And I have wonderful patients. Like, I have a very deep relationship with them where I can email them or call them and say, look, like, I have to move our appointment because of so-and-so. And they're like, of course, Lianne, no problem. Like, I get it. Like, there's no, hey, you serve me and I'm in pain. You know what I mean? There's some patients who get like that. So I wanted to be able to choose who I work with, and I wanted to be able to choose when I work. And I love what I do for work, but I also want to blend in more things that can reach out to people online and, you know, provide different kinds of support. And a part of me was also worried that if I stayed at the clinic and do that, to be fully transparent, I was worried that the clinic might start to claim ownership over my materials of that. So there's also a bit of that business semantics.
Yeah. And where your employers, and absolutely don't want you to break any confidences here, but where your employers happy for you in the sense that they, like in the true traditions of osteopathy, they should theoretically be very happy for you because you're going and being your true self, right? So how did they marry that concept with, oh my God, we're losing one of our prized employees here, and that's going to affect our business? So there's an interesting little...
they did not like it at all, and they were very unhappy.
For the second reason, obviously, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Unfortunately. And I get it, you know, because running a business is hard, and more, there's more and more osteopaths coming into the Montreal area anyway, and to tie back to this professional order coming in, Nicky, you could open an osteopathy school in Montreal tomorrow, make it an online program, and give them a certification, and they could call themselves an osteopath tomorrow. Or you could call yourself an osteopath now and start taking patients in Montreal. And there's no security for the public. But unfortunately, that still takes business away from the established places, especially if people who are less qualified and dangerous want to undercut for price. Yeah. So it becomes this whole battle of, for now, there may be a trickling down in volume of people going to the high-end clinic, even though that's where you should go, because that's where you're going to get the quality of service. I think now when they have some of their own therapists leaving the core of that, because, they're business people, they want to start pulling back slowly over time and hopefully retire and have this business running for them, which I get it. I totally respect the business aspect of it all. I just didn't want to play that being a cog in that wheel anymore. I just wanted to go and build my own freedom.
Yeah. And how's that going for you? So we know that there's a combination of in-person physical therapy, and we know that you want to explore different ways of providing that therapy, and one of those ways is to build up your online presence.
That's right.
How are you finding all of that journey?
Honestly, it's been interesting journey. It's online, something I've been dabbling with since I had my kids and I was at home on mat leave and wanted to figure out a new project because, having kids wasn't enough already, right? But I discovered school probably about a year ago, but I only got serious in school once I found this group Synthesizer, where I believe that's where we met, Nicky. We were in this group together, and I started surrounding myself with different people who are trying to build online and try to build something. So it inspired me to want to learn how to really do this for real through a community that will actually value what I have to say. So I have opened a community on School, and I invite people people find me who feel like it's aligned to talk about these kinds of topics like we're talking about today, and how we can implement tools in order to get more of that alignment with who you truly are. So for now, it's really just building up that sense of service online to show women especially that there is another way. So that's basically where I'm at with it. And of course, I help people one-on-one with this as well, who really want to try and streamline the transformation process. But, the power of community is very powerful as well. Yeah.
Are you saying that your community that you've started on skool.com, are you saying that it's not necessarily or primarily an osteopathy site? Is that right?
It's not. A lot of my osteopathy training really fueled into a lot of where I am today. But I really like to bring in the whole world of holistic wellness that, yes, osteopathy brings in, but it's more around all of my degrees put together. It's as if now I'm finally putting everything I learned over the past 15, 20 years. It's as if everything, like, this is why I talk about alignment in the universe and everything, Nicky. I everything now is coming together to compound that everything I've ever learned, from my psychology degree to my athletic therapy degree to occupational therapy to osteopathy, and even the things I've learned beyond osteopathy, are now all coming together into this one space where I can finally synthesize it all and try and help people get the most streamlined process for their own alignment and transformation.
Okay. Yeah, so look, I'm definitely not going into an advertising vibe here for you, but I really am interested to know what people can expect when they join your community, and what should they expect.
Yeah, well, the first part is just coming in and actually not being a lurker, just coming and building foundations and connections with the other people in the group. I must say, for now, I'm only really taking women in because I feel like women are very tend to really lose their self-identity a lot in pleasing others. But funny enough, men are interested too, and I keep having to refuse them. Yeah. But we
are sensitive souls underneath.
Of course you are. And I think what will happen over time is maybe I'll open up a space for men as well, or for both, and we'll talk about it then. But I think for now I was trying to help more women with their own connection to self. But you come in and I have a little mini roadmap in there of just how to get started in trying to find your own transformation. The group is actually called The Comeback because I like to think of, like a celebrity who may have been down in the dumps, who's now ostracized from society. They're in their little cave, and now they have to go through this transformation in order to make their comeback into the world. So it's kind of that I'm trying to make people understand why the name of the group is that, because now we're going into that cave and we're going to try and make those adjustments in order to help you get your own comeback over time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You and I talk about transformation freely, and we totally get it. I'm not saying people don't get it, but mm-hmm. I would imagine that some people looking at your site will not understand the concept of transformation, and some people will think, well, I don't need to be transformed, I just need a little tweak here,
Yeah.
So will they be shocked if they let themselves go? Will they be shocked at the extent that they might transform?
Possibly. I definitely can't say, oh yeah, come into my world and your world's going to change, but yeah. I am definitely not going to hold back on what is possible or what I've seen work for me in order to help someone else try and live a similar experience, if that's what they feel called to do. Like, I can't tell anyone what to do, really. It's just the information is there, and if you are curious and you want to explore, and of course, like, I'm pretty active in the group, and my calendar's open to talk about it. Like, so I'm always there to help be a guide, like you said, in order to help people along as they're maybe questioning things. Because sometimes when you go on these kinds of journeys, it's almost like, I'm no expert in the manifestation world, but when you start realigning things with how you want your world to be, the transformation comes from inside first. But sometimes when you start that inner transformation, things around you might crumble. Kind of like what happened with, I knew I wanted to start my own business, I wanted to do my own things, but once that happened, the breakdown of my relationships within that clinic crumbled. And I went into a whole identity crisis, and this was just like a month ago. I was like, oh my God, what did I just do? Did I just ruin my reputation? Did I? But that was actually just part of the whole shifting your reality part. So what I tend to want to offer in this group is different ways to help enable you to start figuring out, one, what it is you want out of this life, and two, the tools that can start helping you shift these things so that, three, if it's aligned, your reality will change. But I'm not a manifestation expert. That's just been my experience.
Yeah. I remember at the start of this year sitting down and going, okay, I know where I want to go and I know what I want to do, but it means that the biggest change that's going to happen for me is that I have to submit to the notion that I've got to go public now, right?
I remember that.
And that was a really, really scary time for me, because I'm generally a relatively, not introverted, but I have purposely not gone public in my life. I've done lots of public things, but I have never been online, and I've never, created a presence online until this year. And that was a huge barrier to get over, and a huge decision to say, right, I've got to be on YouTube, I've got to be on, whatever a platform it is, and put myself out there. What's it been like for you? Because you've said during the course of this discussion a few times that things that might suggest that would be a big challenge for you also. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, honestly, I've been thinking about going online for years, but I only took the plunge after, actually starting to put things out there was only after joining Synthesizer on School, SKOOL, like you said. And it's when I finally got the courage to start my own podcast, and I was terrified. Like, you listen to the first episode, or even the theme song, the little jingle I have and it's me going I'm Lianne Balazsi, and this is the Holistic Podcast. And maybe it's exaggerated, but I really was terrified. Yeah. And no one's actually listening. Yeah. You're recording. So the jump from there, where there was so much resistance in what are people going to think? What am I going to do? Even when I launched the podcast, I didn't actually launch it. I just subtly dropped it and put a little post on Instagram. And even that was terrifying. And then people in my everyday life started saying, oh, you dropped a podcast. That's so cool. And I was like, oh God, I forgot people that I know are actually going to know about this now. Oh my God, what did I do? And, people know me as an osteopath, but they don't know what I do. A lot of people in my life, they don't go see it on osteopath. They don't know how I've evolved in it. They don't know how I work. And to then start hearing me talk a little bit about, spiritual alignment, like I'm pretty sure I freaked out some people in my entourage with that. You know what I mean? But I think,
hang on, we used to drink beer with her.
Yeah. Oh my God. If you knew Lianne in Halifax, oh my God, you would not want to listen to me now. Like, you'd think she's a freaking wacko. Like,
yeah.
So,
Right.
So there was a lot of resistance, but I found, and I don't know if it was like this for you, Nicky, but I found as soon as I just said, just do it, and no one's listening, no one's watching anyway. It's not like you're jumping into being someone like a Tony Robbins or an Alex Hormozi. Like, you go through those little steps thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die. And then you realize, oh, like 3 people saw that. Who cares? And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
And a part of you's like, oh, damn, I want more people to watch it. But you're also like, no, it's okay. Like, it was like the baby step of just put things out there. And as I got more comfortable, then I started getting more listens and more downloads. And I got more willing to, come on other people's podcasts who had a bigger audience. Like at first I'd be like, no, I'm not ready. And send me your questions in advance and all this stuff. And the more I just got present and aligned, like the easier everything's flowing. Like even today, we were saying how you didn't send me any questions. I didn't ask you for any prep. And we've been flowing for an hour and a half now. Like it's,
I don't know, something. Yeah,
like,
I've lost track of time.
Yeah,
I don't care about time.
I just looked and I said, "Oh my God, really? We've been talking this long? Like I could keep going for hours with you, Nicky."
yeah, absolutely. And talk to me about the sordid issue of money, right? And the replacement of a nice steady income with regular income with a lumpy cash flow. How's that working out for you? Oh, well, you still have your clinic, of course, so yeah.
Thank goodness I still have the clinic, because online, especially to start, I'm definitely in that messy middle where like you want to have an online business where there's a consistent flow of cash, or what kind of lump might be coming through different launches. I'm still in the early stages of I'm just out here giving things out for free. A few clients have taken me up on some offers to a company. So for me, it's really thanks to the clinic that's helping to fuel this passion of bringing things more online. And I do hope to be able to marry the two more and more. But for now, I got to say, like, I'm actually very happy in the place that I'm in. And it's true that I'm not brave enough yet, let's just say, to just jump ship from my clinic. One, because I don't want to abandon my clientele. I find them so amazing and there's so much more of the work we want to do together. But two, I think I'd be, as a mom and like my income matters for my family. So I'm not ready to make that plunge into the full on online entrepreneurship just yet.
Yeah. I can't resist the temptation to ask you a really cheesy question.
Go for it.
So I'm now talking to the 18-year-old Lianne, right? And she's doing her thing and she's off in college or whatever she's doing. Mm-hmm. What advice is Lianne giving the 18-year-old Lianne right now?
Oh, so much. Oh, so much. First of all, buy some crypto.
Love it.
Buy that crypto. I used to sit in a cafe where you could go put a little, it was a couple of loonies. You could buy a crypto coin. I'm like, oh my God, you're an idiot. Buy the crypto. All in seriousness, I would have told her, you don't need to push so hard to prove your worth. You don't need to show everyone you're cool. You don't need to fit into the box of what everyone else is doing. You just need to be you and listen to you. Because I didn't do that for many, many years, especially at 18. Like, I wouldn't have gone drinking all weekend. Because in Halifax, it's so easy to do. It's probably better now, but back then it was very easy to do. And I would have, just honored more like, what are your goals? Where do you want to go? And who cares if you do it alone for a while? Like, that's probably the biggest advice I would have given myself.
Mm-hmm. And if you were able to project, let's say 3 years down the line now, where is Lianne and where is her business? And I'll tell you why I'm asking this question, because I see a whole lot of things here. I see the intersection of a person that's completely true to herself for a start, which is amazing, by the way. And I also see an entrepreneur. I see a stubborn little bee that's going to keep going until this gets nailed, right?
Right.
And I also see a person who is completely intent on making a positive change in the world, right? So how do you marry all of that, and what does that look like in 3 years' time?
Oh boy. Well, I'm one of those people who what is the saying? Overestimates what you can do in a year and underestimates what you can do in 5. I'm one of those. So if I acknowledge that and put that aside, in 3 years from now, it might actually be, I'm worried I might struggle to continue with the clinical practice if, the message gets through in the online space. That's
right.
And I don't necessarily want to let go of it, but there's other political things coming into play with the osteopathy practice in Quebec, where if I want to pursue online, I may have to give up any licensing that I would have to acquire once we get the professional status. So it might actually be by then that I might be facing a bit of a crossroads again, where are you going to keep to your clinical practice, or are you going to let that go and pursue more what you want to do online?
Yeah, I have a suspicion that won't bother you at all. You'll just work through it, and you've been there so many times before that you'll just take it in your stride and make a decision and move on, right?
I think so. And I think is this, like, your podcast is just getting started, right? Like that. Yeah. So it's still the beginning. Like it's hard to project 3 years because there's so many different things that can happen. But if I tune in and stay true to myself, it's just going to be whatever's most aligned in order to help as many people as I possibly can. So I have an inkling that it might be over time that my clinical practice might close, but I hope that I can pass on any patients or clients to the right next person if that is the case. Or we'll find another creative solution by then and take it from there. Yeah. It's hard to know. Just being present and accepting and receiving as I go.
Yeah. Are you happy?
I am more happy now than when we first met. I think when we first met, you were like, you could see I was in this struggle of trying to put everything together because I was still trying to find alignment within how to fit in working online together. And I find, especially since I left the clinic and have been able to slowly lay down the foundations of how I want my days to feel and where I want to put my attention and focus on, like, I feel like one of the luckiest people on earth right now. Like, I'm full in control of what I do with my days. And I know not many people can say that. And it's a luxury and it's a privilege. And I'm fully honored that I'm able to receive that kind of way of living.
Well, for what it's worth, and I've said this to you before, and I still stand by it. If I had a $5 each way on the person who was going to hit the big time, it would have gone on you. And because of all the things we discussed, and because of your attention to detail and your willingness, your stubbornness to get it right, and to put the foundation stones in place to make everything happen over time, I think that you're one to be backed, and I have absolutely loved talking to you today. It was just wonderful, and on a number of different levels. A, to get to know you a bit better. B, to understand the world of osteopathy, which I now feel like I've got a great grasp on. So thank you. And if I'm one, there'll be many, many others who are in the same boat as that. So I really appreciate that. And just to chart your progress as you go through this massive transformation that you're going through and that you have been through all of those years, it's just fantastic. So thanks for joining us,
Nicky. Thank you for having me. It's been so much fun, and like you ask such great, deep, intriguing questions that like I really had to make sure I was centered to answer them properly, and I really appreciate that kind of depth we got to today. It's been really fun.
Yeah, no. It was great. I forgot to ask you about Holistish. Where did you get the name for that? And that's your podcast, obviously. And where can people find... Sorry, I completely forgot about the commercial side of this.
No.
Right. So here comes a little piece of shameless advertising for Lianne, ladies and gentlemen. So tell us where people can find you. Tell us about your podcast, and is there a link that we can forward or something like that?
Yeah,
please?
So I do a podcast called the Holistish podcast. So it's like holistic, but you put an SH at the end instead. You can find that on all the podcasting platforms. And you can also come and find me on school. My contact name is at Lianne, Lianne. And my group within school, so school with SKOOL, is The Comeback. And for right now, just so you know, I'm only really accepting women into the group. But if you're a man and you want to still be curious, you can put yourself on the wait list there, and I'll converse with people and see how I can accommodate that in the future.
Yeah, and those of us who are in the forgotten race of manhood, we'll get there eventually, right?
No, I think I just really wanted to honor a safe space for women to fully express themselves. Like, just to give you an idea, like, we had our first launch call the other day, and our little community call, and it came up as a joke, but now it's fully happening, where we have a rage corner because women need to rage sometimes.
Yeah.
But we can't do that if your boyfriend's also in the group. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Okay. Love it. Love it. All right, Lianne, listen, time to go. I've got to go and pick up the kids. So it's been great. It's been truly great. I've loved every second of it. Thanks
Same.
Again, and we'll chat very soon.
Very soon. Thank you so much, Nicky.
You're welcome. And a little pause here. I'm going to press stop, and I'll see you on the other side for a second. Okay?
Sounds good.